All right, so in this video, we're going to set up our environment to start using React 3 Fiber. I'm going to be using Create React App. This is the React documentation for Create React App. I'm going to use this command right here, npx create react app, followed by the name of the app. And this basically will just set up a bunch of boilerplate code that lets you start building the application very quickly. So this command requires Node version 8.1 or above and NPM version 5.6 or above. So let me go ahead and follow this link, which takes us to nodejs.org. Now, if you don't already have Node, you can download it directly from here. But what I recommend doing is going to the docs section. And in the docs section, they have a link to the guides section. And then here they have an introduction to Node. So this takes us to nodejs.dev. And then on the left-hand side here, they have a section titled How to Install Node. So I recommend reading this before installing Node. In my case, I'm using a Mac, so I installed it with Homebrew using this command. But I really recommend just reading through this if you don't already have Node and basing your decision on how to install it based on this documentation. So once you have Node installed, npm will be installed by default. And you can check the version of Node you're running after you've installed it by running node -v or -v. Okay, so I'm running version 10.13, which is greater than 8.1. And then likewise, you can check the version of npm you're running with a similar command, npm-v. Right, so 6.4.1, which is greater than version 5.6. So we should be all set to run this create react app command. So let's go ahead and do that. So npx create react app, and then I'm going to call it React 3 Fiber intro, but you can call it whatever you want. And again, this is just going to create some boilerplate code. It'll configure some defaults, and it'll give us everything we need to start making changes to an already working web application. So hit enter. All right, great. So the command worked. It should have created a folder on my desktop called React 3 Fiber Intro, which is, that's what it's saying here. So it also gives me a few commands that I can use. And let's just go ahead and I'm going to navigate into the folder that that command just created. So cd into React 3 Fiber intro. Right, and I'm just going to go ahead and open this up in VS Code so that we can see what it created. I have the VS Code command line interface installed, so I can just type code space period. Okay, so if we navigate into source and app.js, we can see among all this other boilerplate code, this is what we should see when we actually fire up the app for the first time and just navigate to the home page. So again, all these files were just created by npx create react app, and basically what that does is it just gives you everything you need for a working application out of the box. So let's go to package.json, and we'll see that npx create react app automatically installed some basic dependencies. So these should be everything we need to get a very basic app up and running. We'll also see that we have a few scripts here that we can run that we saw in our terminal earlier. So we can run npm run start, npm run build, etc. So basically preface all these commands by npm run. Now, start is a special command in that you don't need to say run. You can just type npm start. And basically what this command does is it'll start Webpack and just allow the app to run. So let's go ahead and run this command. So I'm in my root folder here that we just created. I'm going to run npm start. And this should automatically open up the application in my default web browser. Okay, and it looks like it's working. If you ever need to open up the application manually in your web browser, then you can just navigate to this address right here. And it also says that in the terminal. Okay, so it says what URL the application is running on. So we can see that this is the code that comes right out of source app.js. So if I edit this here and I just replace this with hello world, then we see those changes here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this application for now by pressing Control C. And now I'm going to install the dependencies that we need for this specific project. Those are going to be Three, React 3 Fiber, and Use Canon. So Three is the library that React 3 Fiber is based off of. And I'll just refer to this in this tutorial as vanilla Three.JS, or just plain old Three.JS without any other libraries involved. So there's an install command here for Node Package Manager, and React 3 Fiber has a similar command. And this is the library that the tutorial is going to be revolving around. And then we're also using Use Canon, which is the physics library for React 3 Fiber. So let's go ahead and get these installed. We can install all three of them at once using npm install. You can just type 3 React 3 Fiber and Use Canon. But I'm going to go ahead and install specific versions here that we're using in this project. And those are going to be, so 3 we're using 0.122.0. And React 3 Fiber. And we're using 5.1.5 at 5.1.5. And then Use Canon 0.5.3. So Use Canon at 0.5. I'm just installing these specific versions so that if you're watching this, you know the exact versions that I used for this tutorial. So hopefully that'll prevent any issues if stuff gets updated later and it's not compatible with whatever else we're using. So I'm just letting everyone know the specific versions of everything that we're using here. All right, great. So everything worked. If we go to our package.json, we'll see that we installed those dependencies at those specific versions. Okay, now you might be asking, well, what did that do? It downloaded all the libraries into this node modules folder. So if we go into node modules and then all the way down to, so these are all organized alphabetically. And we can go down to T, which is where we should find the 3 module. All right, so here's 3. So this is what we just installed with that npm install 3. Now the other dependencies are also within the node modules, but I'm just giving you one example. So this is all the source code that was pulled in from that command. So um, you could actually go in here, and I don't recommend it if you're not entirely sure, but if you needed to change something, um, you could go into this code and change it, and that would change the way that the library actually works. So sometimes that's necessary, but this should be good right out of the box. So we should be good to go from here. Okay, so in the next video, we'll talk about the scene graph.